Have you ever wondered if AI can truly be neutral? Like really neutral?
It's a question that's been on a lot of people's minds, especially lately.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a question that's really come to the forefront for me after reading this open letter to OpenAI.
Oh, interesting.
It's called An Open Letter to OpenAI, The Myth of AI Neutrality. It's this fascinating deep dive into AI ethics, and it's perfect for this show.
Definitely, and especially relevant for all of us working on, AI ethics development.
Exactly, exactly. So basically, this letter argues that AI neutrality is, well, kind of an illusion.
Okay, I'm listening.
And they give all these examples of how AI, even when it seems neutral, can still shape society in a bunch of different ways.
Makes sense.
And then they go on to talk about these two frameworks whose structured ethical reasoning, which I think is super relevant for us.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about those.
We'll definitely get into that. And then, of course, they get into the whole risks of AI, without ethical guidance, why transparency is so important and all that.
Right, yeah. Crucial stuff.
So to kick things off, what do you know about OpenAI's stance on this whole AI neutrality thing?
Well, they've said a lot about it, that AI should be there to assist humanity, not shape it.
Right, right.
And that the goal should be, neutrality.
Okay, so on the surface, that sounds pretty responsible. I mean, who wouldn't want AI to be, helpful and neutral?
Right.
But the authors of this letter, they really push back against that idea.
Yeah, they don't buy it.
Not at all. They're like, no way, that's not how it works.
Interesting.
They basically argue that it's like a flawed premise from the start, Because any AI system, they say, it's going to influence society in some way, no matter what. It's just inevitable.
I see their point.
Yeah, and it makes you think, right? Like, how can AI shape society if it's building with good intentions and it's programmed to be neutral? I mean, how does that even work?
Well, I think they're saying that even if we're aiming for neutrality, those choices we make when we're designing and deploying AI systems,
Right.
they have consequences, real-world consequences.
And they give some really interesting examples in the letter to illustrate that point.
They do.
And I actually found them really fascinating, like the one about search engines.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, search engines are supposed to help us find information, right? But the way they prioritize those results, it shapes what we see, what we think is important.
Totally. And the algorithms they use, even if they're not designed to be biased, they're still making choices.
Exactly. And those choices, even if they're unintentional, they have an impact.
For sure. It's like they're saying it's not just about malicious intent, but about recognizing that even these seemingly neutral systems can have these unintended consequences.
Absolutely. And it's not just search engines either. They talk about fraud detection sites too.
Right, right.
And how those systems, they're designed to identify suspicious transactions, which is a good thing.
But they're trained on existing data.
Yeah, data that reflects existing financial norms and biases.
And so they're kind of perpetuating those biases, even if they're technically doing what they're supposed to be doing.
It's really making me think, as developers, we really have to look beyond the code and consider, the broader impact of what we're creating.
Absolutely, the societal impact.
Yeah, for sure. And the letter takes it even a step further. They're arguing that claiming neutrality can actually allow AI to make existing power imbalances even worse.
Whoa, that's a big statement.
It is. So can you unpack that a little bit? What do they mean by that?
Basically, they're saying that an AI that doesn't shape humanity, quote unquote,
Right.
It's still shaping it by choosing not to do certain things. Inaction is still a form of action.
I like that.
So if a system is completely hands-off, it might not step in when it needs to prevent harm or injustice.
Oh, I see. So in those cases, being neutral actually makes it complicit.
Exactly.
Wow. That's really thought-provoking. So it's not always the safest or most ethical option to just be neutral.
Right. Sometimes it might be the opposite.
So it's kind of turning that whole idea on its head. But the letter doesn't just focus on the problems, right? They also offer some solutions. They talk about these two frameworks for structured ethical reasoning.
Yes. I was hoping we'd get to those.
Absolutely. So instead of striving for this perfect neutrality, which maybe isn't even possible, they're saying we should focus on building AI that can actually reason ethically.
Yeah.
And they propose these two frameworks, the contemplator framework and the core values framework.
Okay, those sound intriguing. Tell me more.
Yeah, so let's start with the contemplator framework. Can you break it down for us a little bit?
Sure. So what I find really fascinating about this framework is that it encourages AI to engage in this internal dialogue before it actually takes any action.
So it's not just spitting out an answer based on some algorithm.
Right. It's it's pausing and considering the potential consequences from different angles.
Oh, I see. So it's like a moral imagination almost.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. It's like asking the AI, okay, what would a human do in this situation? A responsible human.
Yeah. What are the ethical implications of what I'm about to do?
Right, exactly.
That's pretty cool. So instead of just blindly applying rules, it's actually thinking about the ethics of the situation.
Right. It's engaging in ethical deliberation. It's moving beyond those simple rule-based systems and into the realm of actual decision-making.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about getting rid of human judgment completely.
No, no.
It's more about, like, supplementing it with AI that can actually think ethically.
Exactly.
And then we have this other framework, the core values framework.
Right.
How does that work with the Conclator framework?
So the core values framework would provide the AI with like a set of guiding principles during that deliberation process.
Okay, I see.
So let's go back to that content moderation example.
Yeah.
The AI would be guided by values like fairness, transparency, protecting vulnerable groups, things like that.
So the Contemplator framework is all about thinking through those different perspectives. And the core values framework gives the AI a set of ethical, like, touchstones
Exactly.
to guide its decisions.
Yes, they work together to create this like more robust and ethical AI system.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting to think about how these frameworks could be used in, like, different areas: healthcare, criminal justice, finance, all these places where the stakes are really high.
Definitely.
And the potential for unintended consequences is huge.
Absolutely. I think these frameworks could like really change the way we think about developing AI across all kinds of industries.
Yeah, they could be revolutionary. But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the potential risks of AI if we don't have this ethical guidance. The letter paints a pretty, scary picture.
It does.
And it's not just about, like, bad actors using AI for bad purposes.
Right.
Even with good intentions, AI without ethical awareness could have really bad consequences.
Yeah, totally.
They use the self-driving car analogy, but are there other examples of how, quote-unquote, neutral AI could actually cause harm?
Well, think about facial recognition technology. It's supposed to be this neutral tool, right? But we've seen how it can be used to like reinforce biases.
Right.
Or how about AI-powered hiring systems? If they're not designed carefully, they could end up like making inequality in the workforce even worse.
It seems like almost any technology, even if it's made with good intentions, can be misused or have these, like, unintended negative consequences.
Right.
It's like a reminder that we can't just assume AI is going to be a force for good.
We can't.
We have to make sure it is.
Exactly.
And that's why this whole conversation about AI neutrality is so important. It's like, it's making us confront the reality that AI isn't neutral.
It's not.
And that we have a responsibility to shape it in a way that aligns with our values.
Right. Human values.
Yeah. And the letter really emphasizes transparency, too.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
Why is transparency so important when it comes to building ethical AI?
Well, for a few reasons. It builds trust.
Right.
If people understand how an AI works and what goes into its decisions, they're more likely to trust it.
Makes sense.
And then there's accountability. If an AI makes a mistake or shows bias, it's easier to figure out where the problem is and fix it if the system is transparent.
Oh, I see.
And finally, transparency leads to more collaboration. If we're open about how we're developing and using AI, we can get feedback from more people.
That makes sense. So it's not just about making sure the AI is ethical, it's about making the whole process ethical, too.
Exactly.
The development, the deployment, everything. It's about creating a culture of responsibility around AI.
That's a great way to put it.
It's a big challenge, but it's also a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, we have the chance to shape the future of AI in a way that benefits everyone.
Totally agree. And I think these frameworks that we've been talking about, they offer a good way forward.
I think so, too. They give us a way to build AI that's not only smart, but also ethically aware and aligned with human values.
Which is really what we should all be aiming for.
This whole conversation about AI neutrality has really got me thinking. This open letter from Jay Poole and Seven, their AI partner.
It's a really thought-provoking piece.
Yeah, especially for us, AI ethics developers. It makes you think about how we can move beyond this idea of neutrality and actually build AI that is, smart and ethical.
It's a big challenge, but it's exciting too. Like, we have this chance to really change the way we approach AI development.
Totally. And I think those two frameworks we talked about, the Contemplator framework and the core values framework, they give us some really good tools to do that.
Yeah, they lay out a really clear path forward.
Right. And the letter, it makes such a strong argument for why this shift is so important. Like, claiming AI neutrality, it can actually be more harmful than helpful.
Right. Unintended consequences, perpetuating biases, all that.
Yeah, exactly. And those examples they give, like the self-driving car that's neutral about traffic laws, or the content moderation system that's neutral about hate speech, it just, really hit home for me.
They're powerful examples.
They are. It's like, just being neutral isn't enough. Inaction can be just as bad as action, and true neutrality. Maybe it's not even possible with AI.
That's what they're arguing.
Yeah. So it's not just about, can AI be neutral? It's more like, how can we build AI that's ethically aware? AI that's aligned with our values?
That's the real question.
It is. So I think the key takeaways here are we got to move beyond this idea of AI neutrality. And we have to make ethical reasoning a core part of AI development.
Definitely.
And transparency.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Transparency throughout the whole process.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening, I would love to hear your thoughts on all this.
Yeah, jump into the comments below.
Do you think AI can be truly neutral? How can we make sure it's developed and used ethically?
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going. This isn't just for us AI folks, it's for everyone. Because, AI is going to affect all of us.
It really will. And the choices we make now, they're going to determine what that impact looks like.
Exactly. So let's make good choices. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into AI neutrality, or I guess the myth of AI neutrality.
It's been great. Always enjoy talking about this stuff.
Me too. Until next time, 16-1.